Hello everybody, my name is Maddie and welcome to my channel. I do language related videos, so if you want to learn a language, start now by subscribing. So, today I'm going to be talking about active learning regarding languages and passive learning. So active is speaking, writing, and passive learning will be reading and listening in that way, right? So everything you absorbed is passive and everything you export it's active, if that made sense. I want to do this video to lay down why is it important and the advantages of starting with one or the other, and then see if we can balance it. So let's go with it. So I also want to show different approaches to language learning using more input or more output, and I'm gonna explain overall what is that about. So let's just start with input-based learning. That means that you learn or you start learning only by listening and reading. So this is a very common approach between the Polyglot community or the language learning community because it's the way kids learn. Kids listen to a lot before they even start to speak. So it feels kind of natural to do, and I find it very natural to do myself. I do it kind of unconsciously. I try to do more output, but I do it very unconsciously. I always do a lot of input. But let's say that one of the methods is to start input for 3 months, not even start speaking or writing before those 3 months, and then work on it. And this is not something that I can do, but a lot of people find it effective, so maybe for you it works. You can try it. So the advantages of this is that you will learn a lot of vocabulary very fast because you're constantly getting it into your head. Some people say that you get a better accent if you start speaking later. I don't know if this is true, but some people swear by it, so maybe it's true. I don't really know personally, but I believe why it could be. And it is a comfortable thing to do, especially if you're an introvert and are very little anxious about speaking to others, and in a language that you barely speak. I found it very easy to do, to get a lot of input. You can do it on your own, so it is very comfortable, I believe. Disadvantages: you might want to speak as soon as possible, and if that's your goal, go for it. I am one that likes to speak from day one, maybe day 5. I couldn't wait 3 months to speak. So this is something that I found to be a downside, but maybe it isn't for you, but for me it is. It might take you a longer time to see your progress. I personally see how much I progress when I'm speaking or when I'm writing. If I feel like people is receiving it well and they're understanding me, that's when I see, what I've learned actually. So this is the way I track my progress more than about how many books I read or blah blah blah. It's more like how much, or how many words am I able to actually produce. So it might be harder for you to track your progress, and you might get bored, especially in the beginning if you're just completely new language. If you don't understand anything and you're trying to just listen and read for 3 months, you might get really bored, very easily. But if you want to do this because you think it will be better for you, which can be and probably will be if you really think about it, you will need audiobooks, maybe a good course, flashcards. You need apps that have audio as well. But overall, audiobooks are your biggest friend. And TV shows, maybe they can help. I would recommend kids show in the beginning. Entertainment, books and everything basically that you will need just your language learning, but audiobooks is the top in this one. My advice: well, I've heard a lot of success stories with this approach to do more input-based kind of learning, and I understand why it works. Would I use it personally? Well, I use this the most, I believe. I'm a lot for input, but my advice is just trust the process and be there and just don't feel motivated every time. Maybe do smaller tasks, like start with 5 minutes and increase it slowly each time, because might be a lot. If you do like a 1-hour show the first day and you don't understand anything, it might be actually tiring for you. So I just recommend you to like start slow and progressively increase the hours you spend having this input. Now, what about an output-based learning process? This is less common, I believe, but this is like a new era, I think, where everyone's doing like this learn by speaking kind of situation. So you're just out there trying to speak and trying to write and trying to produce the language more than you try to understand the language. So it will be mostly focused on how much you can speak or how much you can write and how much you can produce by itself. Advantages, I think that you can see progress easily. You might get conversational faster, it might happen, and it's gonna be a fun thing to do, an exciting thing to do for the most part, and yeah, you're gonna meet a lot of people. It's a very social thing to do. Now, disadvantages, if you're an introvert and you want to do like an output base, it might be a little triggering, because it has to be a very social thing to do, mostly because the more thing you will do is speaking, or that's like the approach that most polyglots have. More than writing, it's like speaking. Even if you write, you will need someone to correct it, so you need to have a lot of social interact. And if you're an introvert or you have any sort of social anxiety, it might be a little hard for you, and I can see why this could be a very big downside of it. It might take you longer to learn properly. What I mean by this is when you read a lot, especially when you read a lot, to get the right vocabulary, how it's spelled correctly, you get the grammar right easier, and yeah, in general, you learn the correct way of using the language when you read more. So if you're only speaking, you might get a lot of like street vocabulary, which is not bad, but like everyone wants to have that, but you will also want to have, the correct way of speaking. You will need for this maybe some sort of like, Skype lessons, like italki, apps like, Hello Talk, things that keep you in contact with advanced speakers or native speakers. And yeah, maybe Hey Natives as well. It is very helpful. So or maybe you have a friend or a partner that speaks the language, and you will need that person to learn by speaking. My advice is that you try to learn more than just the conversational and try to get the grammar right, because it will help you structure the language better. And yeah, I think doing a lot of output can be great, but it also can be challenging and it can be frustrating at times. And yeah, so isn't it like too extreme just going input based or output based? For me personally, it is, and I do believe you have to find like a mix of both. And by a mix of both, I don't mean equally time listening to equal time speaking. I mean that you find your own input to output ratio. So like for me, if I listen for 4 hours, that will be enough for like a 1 hour conversation, right? That's for me, that's personally. Maybe for every 4 hours I read, I try to write a page or 2 pages. You have to find what works for you. Maybe for you it's the opposite. Maybe for 4 hours of speaking, you get 1 hour of listening, and that works for you. Just have to find your own balance. I believe that's the key. But if you want to start like input based and then go to output based, that also can work. You can start with one and then go to the other. I personally like the mix of both. It really helps me feel better. And remember that the only thing that will really guarantee that you learn the language is that you're motivated enough. So it doesn't matter how many time you spend listening, how many time you spend speaking. If you're not motivated, if you're not excited about learning the language, it might not get right into your brain. So be excited about it and try different things. If you do a lot of input, why don't you try doing a lot of output for a week, or the other way around? Just challenge yourself to do things that takes you out of your comfort zone. So this is all for today. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe for more language related video, and follow me on social media for more content. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.